now in the UFC, each division, the men's division, will start from flyweight. We'll make our way up, even though I'm going down. And I want you guys to give me who you think is going to be champion at the end of the year in each weight class. So starting with flyweight, obviously the champion right now is Alejandro Pantoja. Blake, let's start with you. Is he still going to have the belt at the end of the year?
This is only a tricky one because of Pantoja's age. And we all know that,
exactly
is he about 34 or
34,
something?
34, yeah.
You don't get 35-year-olds that are champs lower than welterweight.
Valentina Shevchenko.
Well, in the men's division. In the men's
there you go.
You're absolutely right to pull me up on that. You're absolutely right to pull me up on that. I'm going to stick with Pantoja because I just don't know who he fights. And there's a possibility that he only defends the belt once.
True.
Like if he fights like a Kai Kara France or a Manel Cap, both fights I think he can win. Maybe he goes up in weight. Maybe he does something like that because there's not a huge amount left for him to do in his own division. And I believe Bantamweight could get a little bit sticky after a while as well. So there's an opportunity for him to potentially go up in weight. So I'm going to have to stick with Pantoja.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to stick with Pantoja as well. Good wins over Urseg and Asakura. And I look at the division, the flyweight division, and I don't really see it. How many times have you seen Brandon Moreno fight for the belt? I think that fight will probably happen towards the back end of the year. Yeah. But I don't really see, I'm with Blake, I don't really see who really challenges him at flyweight. Yeah. And I said, get Mo Makayev back in the UFC. Get Mo Makayev. Get him back in the UFC. But yeah, I'm going Pantoja this one.
I would have said Albazi, maybe, because he's still 31, but his performance against Moreno wasn't that inspiring. Yeah, so it's hard to say. And for Pantoja, the grappling, you got to then look at contenders who will be able to negate that. And a lot of the other top contenders are all strikers. Yeah. I just don't think they'll be able to find an answer for that. So I do
think Moreno has a chance, but having had 2 losses to him already, I just think that the way that Moreno wins is if he keeps improving and Pantoja starts to come off the gas because he's getting that bit older, then he can win it. And if they made Moreno Pantoja at the end of the year, 100% Moreno could win that fight. Their most recent fight was very, very close. But I've got to lean Pantoja.
All right, Bantamweight, Merab has the belt currently. We know he's fighting Umar. Who are we thinking?
Umar. And again, it's boring. And there's a conversation about Dagestani fighters and are they making the sport boring? But Umar's just so dominant. An ill-advised fight to take for Corey Sandhagen, but Umar dealt with him. And I think he deals with Merab later this month. And I think Umar will hold that belt at Bantamweight for a long time.
I'm agreeing with everything you're saying there. That Sandhagen fight just made me go, wow. Even though it was actually close in a lot of ways, but every round was just edged by Umar. So he got like a 50-45 or whatever it was. You can't do that to Corey Sandhagen and not be the best guy in the division. So I love Sandhagen. He's my tall, skinny brother from another mother.
He's got a great YouTube channel as well, Corey Sandhagen. He's probably my favorite fighters YouTube channel. Very, very good breakdowns.
Yeah. But I've got to go Umar.
Umar, I'm probably going to say Umar as well. I think he probably will give Merab a good fight. I reckon he's got the wrestling game to keep that fight standing and probably just utilize the striking. But I think we're all feeling Umar. The Nurmagomedov legacy continues. So at featherweight, currently it's Ilia Topuria. Now the question isn't, will Ilia Topuria still be champion? I think the question really is he going to go up a weight class and is he still going to be there? So what do you guys think?
I don't think he moves up. I don't think. I think that's all bluster and whatever. Like to lose those championship kind of pay-per-view points and all that stuff. And who knows? As you've been saying, the model could change, and maybe we'll see something very different happen. But he's hardly cleaned out the division. I know he's got 2 amazing wins, and he was my fighter of the year, despite Alex Pereira. But after Alex Pereira knocked out Khalil Roundtree, I got a lot of flack off people from my show saying that I think Topuria is going to be the fighter of the year, despite and this was prior to the Max Holloway fight. I got so much flack for that. And then I think a lot of people still picked him. He was my fighter of the year.
Yeah, we had him.
Blake, I completely agree with you. I even said the winner of the Max versus Ilya fight is the fighter of the year. Yeah, because the way that Max obviously finished in the UFC 300, he finished Justin Gaethje. Yep. The winner of that fight was going to be the fighter of the year. I get it what Alex Pereira did and the fact that he stood in and he jumped in at late notice. But Ilya versus Max was the fight. And Ilya dispatched the Max and did something that no one has ever done to Max Holloway. Like, he's a special talent. I don't see anybody in the 145 division taking the belt off him.
No, I agree. Topuria is indomitable.
Shout out to Diego Lopez. We'll see. Yeah, I like him.
That was my question, because I was like, maybe Ilya does go up to lightweight just because that's what Conor did. He's been trying to model his career after him, and that's literally what he's been saying. If he does, then I've got Movsar and I've got I don't know, because it would be a rematch against Diego. And Movsar has just looked so dominant, and no one's really found like a consistent way to take rounds off him. But I think it's going to be Ilya. So
I'm pulling you up there. Movsar has not looked dominant because Arnold Allen beat him. Arnold Allen beat him fair and square, and he was shafted by those judges.
It's true. It was. I mean, look, you could definitely agree with that. And I think at the time, I probably thought Allen won. But the point I'm saying by dominant is, he's just got like an aspect to his game which people haven't got an answer for. And until they do, he'll just switch into that, and it'll be very hard to beat him. So anyway, right. Lightweight, Islam Makhachev, still the champ. Is he going to have the belt before the end of the year? Probably, right? Unless Arman, first challenge, first pay-per-view of the year as well, was in 2 weeks. We're going to get a great fight. So give me a prediction for that fight first, guys.
I think go on. You go, Craig.
I think stylistically, this is the most difficult fight for Islam in terms of defending his title. Again, I don't want to disrespect Volk, but Volk was coming up. Volk is tiny for lightweight, but put on an incredible fight in the first time round and then got head kicked and never looked the same since in the second fight. I loved Islam versus Dustin Poirier. I thought that was an incredible fight, despite the fact that Islam was relatively dominant all the way through. It was just you were gripped by that fight. Amazing fight. I think Sarukian will give him problems, but Islam's just too dominant. I would argue that his wrestling is more dominant than Khabib's, and I think that he wins against Armand.
I'm leaning Islam, but I think Arman is his toughest fight, and I think it's not Islam's wrestling, but his striking and his kind of defensive abilities on the feet that will pull him through most opponents. I think I was really surprised in that first Volk fight. Volk surprised everyone, was like, oh my God, he's dealing with Islam's wrestling, except that fourth round when he was like chatting away and got taken down, which was so annoying. But other than that, Islam on the feet is actually really underrated. And I do think Arman is the outside of Jones Aspinall, maybe Arman versus Islam is the best fight the UFC can make in terms of like it's just the caliber of mixed martial arts you're going to see. Bang on number one versus champ. You're not going to get anything more level and kind of that kind of just pure MMA than Arman Sarukian versus Islam Makhachev. I'm super excited about that fight.
Yeah, that's a good breakdown for that one. And that's pretty much spot on, I think, of how it's going to go. We talk about the development of Islam striking. He's just sitting southpaw now and just bodying people with those kicks. That kicking game of his has come a long way. He used that a lot in the first Volk fight as well. But southpaw body kick, southpaw head kick, I think, against Arman, who doesn't really kick very often and usually takes advantage of someone else's kicking game to chain his wrestling. But that's why Islam kicks so much, because he doesn't mind getting taken down. So I think it's probably going to be a kickboxing strategy on the outside. I agree. It's going to be a great fight, though, to start the year. Number one versus the champion. I love it. So let's do welterweight, because we've got a couple more. Obviously, Bilal Muhammad. How could you forget that he's champion? You've got to remember his name. I almost did in the screen in front of him. So he's champ right now. Obviously, everyone is looking towards Rachmanov to get that shot. And that is a really fun stylistic matchup. Question is, though, who will be champ at the end of the year? Let's start with you, Blake.
I've got to go Shavkat. The only worry I have is this MCL injury that Cormier was saying he had. If it's true that he's got an MCL, will he be out for a while? Will Bilal have to fight someone else instead? And then how long does Bilal wait before fighting again? Islam maybe keeps talking about wanting to move up in weight. So if Shavkat fights for the belt, he ends the year as champion. But it's just whether Shavkat gets to fight for the belt before the end of the year, which I'm thinking he will, but you never know.
See, I had Shavkat originally, and we've agreed on all of the champions so far, but I think this is where we're going to disagree. I think that Bilal's performance against Leon is kind of been forgotten about. The wrestling was so dominant, obviously,
and the pressure,
and again in the last round faced a little bit of adversity and came through that. Obviously wrestling with Khabib, and he's I think he's underrated. I think because he's not the most likable champion, I think he is underrated. And maybe it's because off the back of Shavkat not looking amazing against Ian Gary, because every time I see Shavkat in the cage, we expect him to finish his opponent. He didn't against Gary, but I'm going for Bilal. I think Bilal ends the year as champion. I think that he goes on a nice little run in 2025.
I like that because I do like Bilal Muhammad, man. He's sneaky underrated, has been for a long time. And I think one of the most powerful things about him is his mindset. He is one of those guys who, like Khabib, is so disciplined. Like his life is about his sport and his religion, and that's it. And that's all he does. And there's no distractions for Bilal. I don't think there's any distractions for Shavkat, to be honest, either. But I agree with you. I think his mindset is that of a champion. However, Shavkat Rakhmonov, man, I don't know, man. I think I'm going to pick Shavkat just because of the diversity of his striking arsenal. I reckon when they stand toe-to-toe on the feet, you know, it's interesting because Leon versus Bilal 1 was a very different fight. And, you know, Leon was getting off those kicks quite nicely. And I expect Shavkat to do the same. But I don't know. The game planning of Bilal, I don't have to make a pick. I'm just going to let you guys do it. It's fine. So we're good. All right, middleweight.
I'm obviously not changing my pick, but dark horse Joaquin Buckley. What are the chances? I mean, he could sneak into a title shot if someone drops out or someone like available. He could sneak in, and that guy's got power and he's really improved. I've been really impressed with Joaquin Buckley this year.
He's opened up the doors to what he needed to do to just get better as a well-rounded athlete. And now he's the kind of guy who will use his wrestling to win a fight because he understands that's the best way to fight in MMA. I don't know how his total skill set matches up against someone like the champ, but when it comes to mentality, I'd say Buckley's way up there as well because he's like a driven guy. It's almost like all of the insults just spurred him on even further to like, you know, just say, screw you guys, I will be as good as you guys say I can't be. So we'll see. All right, let's do middleweight. Dricus du Plessis is the champion. And this is a tough one, guys, I think, because DDP is so unpredictable. Like he's one of those guys that people want to doubt and you can constantly doubt, but he has shown up every single time. And plus at 185, we have a row of killers waiting, right?
And you talk about mindset, and Dricus, his mindset is absolutely elite. He goes in there believing he's going to beat everybody. We'll see how the Strickland rematch goes, because I think how that goes determines who is the champion at the end of the year.
Yeah.
I think the Dricus gives Hamzat problems, and Hamzat's who we're really talking about when we talk about people waiting in the wings. After what he did to Robert Whittaker, breaking his face, I feel like he
like 2 minutes.
He reminded people why everyone was so excited when he first came onto the scene. The problem with Hamzat is he going to fight? How regularly is he going to fight? Can they rely on him to be the champion, to defend his belt on a regular basis? But if
can't get into America, can he? Sorry to interrupt you, but he can't even go to America, can he?
Exactly. He can only fight in certain regions. And so that's the one spanner in the works. But I'm going to go for Hamzat, but I've got a little dark horse. Caio Barrio, I feel like is on a nice little tear. And if, say Hamzat doesn't fight and you get the winner of Strickland versus DDP, I think the Caio comes in there and probably beats the winner. So yeah, I'll go Hamzat, but there are so many different caveats in it.
Yeah. This is a really interesting division. I think I the original fight between Strickland and DDP, I scored for Strickland.
Right.
But I do think Dricus will win this one. And I think it's everything you said, Alex, about like, is Hamzat going to get his shot? Is he going to be able to get past all the health issues he sometimes has? But also these visa issues. Does that mean that Dricus has to say, yes, I'll fight him in Saudi Arabia or Abu Dhabi? What if Dricus goes, probably. No, I don't want to do. Dricus wants to fight in South Africa. He wants to do that. Like, what if he just goes, no, I'm not fighting him there. Absolutely not. And then Hamzat's just left on the shelf for a bit longer. So it's a risky pick picking Hamzat to be your champ by the end of the year.
Yeah, to like region lock your champion I don't think it's ever happened, which is weird as well. I mean, 185 like, don't forget, Imovov has come back looking great. He's fighting Izzy. If he beats Izzy, he might get a title shot this year. And who the hell knows how Imovov's going to look, because he's another guy who's kind of refined that game.
Yeah.
Quick question before we move on though: who has a better chance of beating Hamzat, DDP or Sean Strickland?
DDP.
I agree. Cool.
Yeah. He's just such a weird style. How do you prepare for DDP? I don't know.
It's true, man. Yeah. He's just strong as heck, dude. I want to see them grapple. I want to see the strength of Hamzat go up against that strength that DDP clearly has. And I hope we get to see it this year. Right. Light heavyweight. Alex Pereira is the champ. Who's left for him at 205 at this point is really the question, lads. There are a few people, but I'll let you go.
Well, what a 2024 he had. Done Jamal Hill at UFC 300 with an incredible knockout, an incredible celebration afterwards. He'd done Yuri Prohaska. He gave Khalil Roundtree a facelift. He is again, it's probably harsh that I don't have him as my fighter for 2024, but you can definitely make an argument for it. And it seems like the boring answer to go with, but I just think that if Ankalaev says he's going to do what he is going to do and is going to try and strike Alex Pereira, then there is no chance that Ankalaev wins that fight. I don't think he does strike with him. I think he does try to wrestle him. But I think that Pereira finds a way to get the job done. He's just that good, that elite, and such a special talent that we'll get to witness.
I've done a show similar to this, picking champions for the last 3 years. And I have picked Magomed Ankalaev every single year in this division, and it's never happened. And I can't back out now. I'm locked in. I have to be right one of these years. Magomed Ankalaev, champ by the end of 2025. I do think he's been the best light heavyweight on the planet for a long time. I just feel like matchups and bad luck and different things have just not served him. And also, I just don't think the UFC likes him. After that performance with Jan Blachowicz, which you could say Ankalaev won, but it ended in a draw, Dana White has just not liked Ankalaev at all. And I think that's
he did turn
really
down a fight as well. I think that's why they don't like him.
And then the weird fight with Johnny Walker, and then obviously done the job in the rematch, and then the Rakic fight wasn't amazing. Like, I do feel for Ankalaev because he is such a great fighter, but weird things happens when he gets to the point. If they do get in the cage, it's going to be an exciting fight, but I do think Pereira just gets it done.
I think we need that one for the stylistic matchup at this point, really. And Pereira's already kind of, if you're the UFC and you wanted to milk a guy as a champion, as a knockout artist, it's like, we've done that now. You got to give him we've done that now. If there's anyone in that division who might be able to eventually challenge Alex on the feet, let's say he beats Ankalaev, or at the end of the year, he's got a new contender. Do you see anyone in that division? Because I'm looking at a super dark horse in Carlos Ulberg.
Yes.
If Carlos Ulberg gets 3 more wins this year, he's with Israel Adesanya. Like, they've game planned for Alex 5 times. Like, that's the best camp to come out of if you're going to fight this guy. And he legitimately is a very crafty, athletic, powerful striker.
I really like Carlos Ulberg. I think he's very, very good. And the Izzy connection as well, I think could be very important if he were to ever fight Alex Pereira. I think the other thing is, if Alex Pereira were to get past Magomed Ankalaev, I just think he moves up to heavyweight. Yeah. So I think that could throw it wide open.
Sure, yeah.
To anyone. If Alex Pereira goes, I'll beat Ankalaev in April or May, and then after that, I really want to fight either John or Tom. And we might have a situation where John wants to sit out, and the only fight for Tom Aspinall is Alex Pereira coming up in weight or something like that. I mean, there's also a world in which Alex Pereira has won all these fights and he doesn't win a single fight in 2025 because he gets beat by Ankalaev, moves up to heavyweight, gets beat by someone at heavyweight. That would be quite an interesting turn of events if he's gone from 3 wins to no wins.
But that happens when fighters go on an incredible tear. They have an amazing year. Like, you think about like a Volk or an Usman. Then the next year, for some reason, it just goes like that. So I do think I think Pereira is a special talent, and I think we have to appreciate what we're seeing right now, and I don't think anybody touches him in the light heavyweight division in 2025.
Yeah, nor do I. No, we're right at the end of the year, but we'll see. All right, we've got one men's division left. We'll just stick with that. Is John Jones at the heavyweight champion? We've been talking about this since the start of the day. So, question is, if John fights again, whoever he fights, will he still be holding the belt at the end of the year?
I don't know, man. I don't know. This is such a tough one because, we're all homers, right? We all know who we want to have the belt. But it's John freaking Jones. Like, he's the baddest man on the planet. And until I see it, I don't know if I can believe it. But because it is Tommy Aspinall, I'm going with Tom Aspinall. It's heart over head, but I wouldn't put too much money on it.
Okay, go on, Blake.
Yeah, I've got to go Tom as well. I'm convinced that if Tom and John step in the cage together, Tom wins. I'm convinced. I really believe he's got too much for him. Natural heavyweight, knockout power, quick movement, can match up on the grappling as well. I mean, I really want to see John's wrestling against Tom's BJJ as well and just see what happens there. But I think on the feet, Tom's got enough for him to deal with him and maybe even deal with him quickly as well. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting carried away, but I do think he can do it.
Man, I don't know, because we haven't really seen Tom against anyone you could compare to John Jones. I mean, not to say that he hasn't beaten good guys. Tom's beaten great guys, but John's just a different. There's a reality in my brain where I'm like, they could get in the cage together and John could just keep him at distance and then easily out grapple him like he did with everybody he's ever fought. Because John looks like Superman when he takes people down, and then he just kills them, and you're like, I think it's just pointless. But I think no matter what, John is probably not going to be holding the title at the end of the year because I think he's probably going to retire by the end of the year. So that's my pick. I don't know. I think this is the last year we see John Jones compete in mixed martial arts. Maybe there's something else happens afterwards, like an exhibition fight or something crazy. But I think this might be it. 2025, the last year of JBJ, and he probably will have one fight and go out undefeated, and that'll be it, most likely.
And then he will box Logan Paul.
Oh, John Jones can't really box, though. That's the thing. He's not.
Hey, man,
no danger of that. There's no danger of John Jones boxing anybody, I don't think. So there we go. All right, lads. Well, I mean, like that was great. I mean, we had a lot to talk about today. I think we've all had a good time. John Jones versus Aspinall is probably, if we're all crossing our fingers, we may get made this year. But I think there was something else we were supposed to talk about. Oh yes. Okay. So we touched on this briefly about last year, but in 2025, have you got a prediction early for Fighter of the Year? You want to make a next year Fighter of the Year prediction?
Ooh. Based on how dominant I expect him to be, but again, the bantamweight division doesn't get as much shine as it probably should. But I think Umar's going to have a dominant year.
Okay, Umar.
Yeah, I think he's going to have a dominant year.
I like that. I definitely think Umar could come out and get 3 good wins. He's got the skills to dominate in every area of the game. So,
yeah.
Blake's thinking this.
I'm thinking about this. I'm going to maybe piggyback slightly on your thoughts here because I think getting a fight in early is big because you can fight maybe 3 times a year. So I'm going to go for Islam Makhachev.
Ooh, okay.
Because I think if he beats Arman, then the next fight's up in that division, whether it's Oliveira, Max Holloway, whatever it is that's thrown his way, I think he can deal with. If he were to go up in weight, maybe he gets a win there. That would be good. I mean, I sort of wanted to say Khamzat Chimaev, but you just can't trust him. But if he wins the belt and then gets one defense in, I think everyone will be, especially if he wins it in the kind of fashion he's been winning fights in, Khamzat Chimaev will be right up there as Fighter of the Year. I don't know. Yeah, it's a tough one, but I'm going to go Islam Makhachev.
All right, Islam Makhachev, Umar. I like both those picks. Yeah, I think Islam's a safe pick. I think the Khamzat one would be a little crazy. I mean, listen, DDP could do some crazy stuff next year, and we could all be singing his praises. But all right, well, either way, guys, please let us know down below the answers to all these questions we've had today. And the whole point of this show is to have a debate amongst ourselves, but also to include all of you guys as well. So let us know your Fighter of the Year predictions for champions as well. I'm sure all of you guys probably also agree that you're not really bothered about watching Conor McGregor fight, and maybe I shouldn't say that, but I think that's the truth at this stage, isn't it, really?
I think so.
So, yeah, definitely let us know on all the talking points that we had today as well. And, I hope you guys enjoyed the first episode of Talk MMA here on the talkSPORT channel. I think we all had a good time, lads, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome.
Thanks for having us.
So thank you to all the team involved, obviously myself, Alex Ritchings, Blake Harrison, Kweku Afari there as well. So thank you all for joining us. Don't forget to catch Uncaged as well with Brendan Locknane and Adam Catterall. That goes up every single week. Plenty of interviews and fun stuff there. But we look forward to seeing you next time on Talk MMA, guys. Have a good week and enjoy the start of the UFC New Year.
On AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.